Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast, where real students are doing real deals in the world of multifamily real estate. I'm Vince Gethings, the owner of the Wheelwell Profits Academy. Listen in as we dive into the journeys of driven individuals who are turning their dreams into reality. These people are just like you, taking action and making things happen. If you enjoy the show, please like, subscribe, and if you're ready to take action, check us out at wheelwellprofits.com to learn more about our incredible community. Let's get started.
This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, the co-founder of Jake and Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I am joined by my co-host, my brosif, Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director of Jake and Gino. Josh, how you doing today, bro?
Gino, doing well, man. Super excited. I was just thinking this morning about our annual live event, Multifamily Mastery Live, and just the caliber of guests and attendees that we're going to be having at that event. Guys like Eric Thomas, the top motivational speaker in the world, Cole Hatter, who just crushes it in business and life and real estate. Gino, how are you?
Josh, I'm doing good. It's a little raining today, to be honest with you. My level of energy is a little low, but once I saw the guest we had on today and spoke a little bit about his story and found out that, he found us through one of these live events last year. His brother's been part of the platform for a couple of years. I want to dive into limiting beliefs a little bit on this show because I think limiting beliefs hold us back. And I think our guests found that, I can do it. I just got to surround myself with the right people. I have to have the right mentors and I have to take action. I think his story is going to be fantastic for us. Having a great day. How about you, bro?
Love it, man. So actually, like you talked about, our guest today, Jacob Anderson, he's actually from Cleveland, Tennessee. So he's at the hometown state over here in Tennessee and attended business classes at Lee University. Now, after college, he became a full-time health and life insurance agent and later purchased Green Tree Financial. Since then, he and his firm have been a top producer with several Fortune 500 companies. Now, Jacob started his real estate career in 2005 after an employee of his needed to sell 2 duplexes. Before discovering the power of multifamily, Jacob built his portfolio to 30 doors. Now, after finding Jake and Gino actually at Multifamily Mastery Live last year, he went on to scale his portfolio and has since purchased a 57-unit apartment complex. Wow. Welcome to the show, Jacob.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So let's dive into this, Jacob. I mean, you decided to go to college. I want to hear kind of why you decided to go into life insurance and then really creating that successful business, why real estate came into the picture, and even more so, why you decided to scale up with it.
Well, I kind of had a little bit of an inside track to the insurance field because our dad had been in that for years. And of course, I never wanted to get into insurance because that was dad's thing. But when I started seeing the power of passive income through insurance, where you do the work today, and then if you do it correctly, you can benefit from it for years because of the residual renewal income. It kind of attracted me. I was a young college guy and saw what I could make. So did that for a few years. And then that's kind of what attracted me to real estate, rental income, because of the tax advantages, obviously, of rental income and its passive nature where, you still have some active duties involved in it, but it's just like insurance where, you can continue to benefit for years. And really, it's better than insurance in some ways because eventually your clients, they move or pass away or what have you. But real estate's, it's depreciating asset, but it's still going to be there. These properties aren't going anywhere.
So when you first started out, you bought a couple of duplexes and you bought single family homes. What attracted you to multifamily?
Well, I didn't do multifamily for several years, mainly because we were purchasing distressed properties, bank foreclosures, did a lot of sweat equity ourselves in the beginning. My wife and I would do a lot of the painting, and boy, that tested our our marriage quite a bit, just working together. It was a good building process for us. But it takes as much resources that we've discovered to do one house as it does to do a 57-unit property.
Can you say that again? That's really important for everybody here, what you just said, because I totally and 100% agree with what you just said.
Well, we've discovered that it takes as much time, energy, and resources to do one property, which is going to yield one rent, than it does to take down a 57-unit property. And it was funny because we bought a house right about the same time that we bought the 57 unit. And I was still struggling with the house, getting stuff done to it, fixing stuff we didn't know about. And the 57 unit was already occupied, and we had very little issue with it at all. I told my wife, so we've been doing this wrong for the last 15 years. We spent so much time on one unit, and it was a good asset. Don't get me wrong, but to do 57 units, it's just incredible. Everything was just so much easier. The banks were way more negotiable on the terms. Naturally, it was a bigger deal for them. It was just all around just a great, and it's so many more benefits derived from multi-unit. The utility contract that we put in place, which that wasn't a whole lot. It was like $5,700 for signing the contract with Spectrum, but just little stuff like that. The cost segregation was tremendous. We had an offer to sell the contract from another investor while we were still in escrow. And we would have netted about $200,000 gross, but just the cost segregation alone that we're doing right now is worth that much or more to us in terms of tax savings. When we had never even thought about that, didn't even know about cost segregation until we got into it.
Where'd you find that about cost segregation? How'd you learn about that?
I actually found out about it through your platform, Gino. we got introduced to a boomer at one of your multi-unit mastery event.
See, guys, everybody, this is important because what you don't know, you don't know. So if Jacob had not surrounded himself with his brother Abraham and not surrounded himself with Jake and Gino, he would have thought he made a great payday. $200,000 is a lot of money. But the difference between being truly successful and being wealthy is Jacob was looking at a transaction. He was looking to make $200,000, of which he'd probably have to pay 30 to 40% to the government. So what is he left with? He's left with $140,000, $130,000 net, let's say. Great payday still. But transactions pay the bills. Equity creates wealth. And what Jacob did was, let me turn it around. Let me own this 57 units. Let me take the depreciation on it. Let me keep the income that's coming from this. Let me wipe off some of the income coming from my current job. I've got a home run. I've got a depreciating asset that's going to appreciate in value going forward, and I have cash flow. Complete mind shift taken over. And that's why people become super wealthy, because they're thinking for the long term. It's not going to be a 1 month or 2 month process. It's going to take Jacob 6, 7, 8 months to stabilize the property, to get his bearings down, to have his wife do the management, and there's more work involved. But I think that work on the front end is going to lead to so much more value on the back end. Did I summarize it pretty good, or would you like to add anything to that, Jacob?
No, that's perfect. No, that's exactly right. As you peel the layers off one at a time, it just makes so much more sense to do the multi-unit. It just even if you have to bring on partners, it's just the way to go. We were fortunate that it stressed us a little bit, but we were able to do this without partners. But I think I can see the benefit of that if you have to do that.
So Jacob, what were you doing wrong? You said I was doing everything wrong for 15 years. Can you pinpoint what you were doing wrong? Was it your mindset? Was it your strategy? Was it your limiting beliefs? What was going wrong for those 15 years of doing those things?
Well, and it wasn't anything wrong per se. The values of the properties have went up tremendously since we purchased them. And the income has been there. They were all good investments, but I think looking back, we would have been better off focusing on a few less deals and better deals, larger deals versus, a house every 3 or 4 months. We've been better off doing one large multi-unit a year even, because you have so much control over the value of that asset, as you know. House, you only can do so much. The comps you're limited by your comps. You're always limited by your comps. But with the multi-unit, you have so much more control. And you can leverage so much better, with 50 units. How long would it take us to do 50 houses? We haven't ever done 50 houses still. It took us 15 years to get 30. So time is the biggest asset we all have, as you would agree. And that is where I think multi-unit is just so valuable, because it allows you to leverage your time so much better.
So I misspoke. I should never say he made a mistake or he did something wrong in his past, because what you know is what you know at that time. So it's not a mistake because it's led him to multifamily, right? There's always there's nothing wrong with the strategy. There's always sometimes better strategies or thinking bigger. So when somebody gets into residential or single family homes, they're not thinking big enough, and we all limit ourselves by saying Jake and Gino can do it. But Jake and Gino started out with a 25 unit property also, and thinking that, I can't do that. And that's what's holding us back. And I think people, if they take a step back and they listen to these podcasts and go, well, Jacob's just an insurance salesman, who owns a business who never did multifamily. If Jacob can do it, let me see what he did. Jacob, how did you find this deal? What was appealing to this deal that you took down?
Well, it was listed by actually a realtor, and I just happened to, I've got realtor.com set to where I get auto emails when properties are listed that meet, our criteria. And so it was actually a listed deal, but we were quick. I called my broker, who's a friend of mine, and said, hey, we got to get and look at this. This is a little bigger than I was looking for, but I said, well, let's take a look at it. So we went over, looked through, just looked through a couple of the units, made an offer quickly. And they accepted it, which I was surprised they didn't counter. But my broker was instrumental in that, because at that point they already had a couple of other people interested. And he said, "Look, this guy is serious. He's got the financing to do it. So they were friends. The listing agent and him were, and they just took the offer. I think they were afraid to go back and forth too much. And the seller was had moved out of state. He had a lot of incentive to sell, and it just worked out.
So as a mom and pop seller, then, as somebody who's motivated that you identified, what was the offer price, and what was your strike price and the offer price on the property?
It was listed at $1,994,000, and we offered $1,750,000, $1,750,000.
And they took 1,750, huh? Wow!
Right, and they purchased that for $2 million back in 2007, originally.
Wow. So okay.
I was surprised that, and it worked out that they just took their offer, no counter, and I thought, man, we're getting a heck of a deal here.
Wow. So when you saw the deal, where were the value adds? What did you like about the deal?
Well, what we liked about it was the location of the property was right next to Cleveland State College, which is one of the fastest growing colleges in Tennessee. It was right near Target, a main shopping center, right off the interstate. It was a great property. All the units were one level. It was all one story. It had plenty of parking. They all had washer and dryer hookups. The value adds were the rents were really under market. Some of those people have been living there for 9 and 10 years, which we liked, but there was tremendous opportunity to increase value through raising the rent to what they should be today.
And anything on ratio utility, were the tenants paying water bills, or were you able to bill that back?
The owner was paying the water, and we're actually in the process of implementing RUBS, which we haven't fully done yet, but we are doing that because it's about a $3,000 a month water bill, which obviously that would increase the value of the property tremendously. So everyone get their calculators out. 3,000 times 12 is $36,000. You divide it by, would you say it's a 7 cap environment? 7 cap market? Yeah, 7 cap.
So do 36,000 divided by 0.07, and that's how much value you're going to increase by pushing off that value onto the tenants. And sounds like something that it's already happening in the market. So there's a couple of buzzwords in there for everybody. Jake and Gino, students are always looking for value adds. Washer dryer hookups are huge. If you have washer dryer hookups, that's an additional $20 to $25, and tenants are looking for washer dryer hookups. So that's an amazing value add that if the landlord's not charging for that, that's something where you can obviously do. What about the expenses on the property? Was the property being run well from an expense standpoint?
I didn't think it was. The management company was really hitting him pretty hard. They were charging 10% to manage it, and they really weren't doing a whole lot. I mean, they had a rent box on the property where people would just pay the rent in the box, and they would just go and collect it out every month. The management fee I thought was tremendous for what they were actually doing. So we knew we could reduce that right away. I do have a property manager in place that I use, but the fee is almost half of what these guys were charging. So that was a big difference. Some guys run it themselves. I just couldn't do that with our insurance business. I just did not have the ability or time I mean, I could do it. I just don't have the time to. But that was a huge value add. It was just getting that reduced. As far as what was the question again?
As far as other expenses, I just want to jump in here real quick and so Jacob's growth. 5 years ago, Jacob was changing toilets and painting and doing all the work. Now he doesn't have time to do minimum wage work, which is an amazing shift, right? If you can manage the manager and implement and put somebody in there, paying somebody 5% to do that work allows Jacob to make more money as insurance, allows him to save his marriage, right? Because he doesn't want to get divorced, right? You got to stay happily married, because if you're buying multifamily and getting divorced, there's no reason to be doing that. And also, you're able to continue to grow and underwrite more deals and look at more deals and control. It's a business that Jacob's running. So I think that mind shift is just shown in what his actions are. So people can talk all they want, but the actions say it all. And the fact that he's actually got somebody doing the work, that's really impressive. And it might be when Jacob hits 200 units, he says goodbye to his insurance, and maybe he brings it in-house and does a little multifaceted. That gives him the opportunity, but I think that's an awesome shift over there. I mean, as far as other expenses, I want you to really take a look at your contract services, your garbage, your landscaping. You guys don't have much snow plowing down there, but your repairs and maintenance, a lot of that stuff down there. As far as cutting expenses, were you able to cut any other expenses on the property?
Yes, the lawn care was a big one, a lot bigger than I actually had realized because, dealing with smaller properties, that never really was a big issue. But this was on 6 acres and it had a lot of areas that it was a costly thing. We had to get a lot of bids and we finally got it down to a lot less than what they had been paying prior.
That's awesome.
About $250. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Everybody, let's just take a quick break to hear from our sponsors.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created. Buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply.
Josh, I want to just follow up just with a couple more questions. How did you finance this property?
We actually used a community bank that we had used in the past, but this time before we just entered into an agreement to move forward, I went ahead and checked with a couple of your lenders first, just to keep them honest because it was such a large deal and every little bit would make a difference on this. So we actually were able to get them to change a couple of their terms. They wanted to do a shorter amortization, and we ended up at a 20-year, but they just did a 15% down, which helped. And then they also lowered their amortization. Their origination. We got it down to half a point. So we ended up staying with the community bank. Our goal is to refinance it to Fannie Mae after 2 years. But it was helpful to have that relationship, though, because that was something that their selling broker wanted, was a letter showing that we had already been pre-approved. And all I had to do was text her and say, hey, I need this letter. And boom, she sent it over immediately. Even before I knew we were going to use her, it still helped having that relationship. So that would be something I would say is make sure you got a relationship with the banker in place first. Because, that really, I think, made the difference in her taking us serious right off the bat.
And it's funny, we teach our students, you can get 15% down, and we've done it multiple times. And here's proof in the pudding. When you go out and you start pitting one bank against the other, the 20-year AM, we've gotten those. We don't like those, but if I have to sacrifice a little bit of amortization, a little bit of cash flow to put 5% down less than a deal, that's saving me a lot of money, and I don't have to go out and raise equity. I can come in with most of my money, not have to partner. So you have to weigh the options. And if your strategy is to refi after 18 months, you might get a year of interest only on this deal. So you might work that out. And then after 18 months, you refi and go into Fannie or Freddie product, which is the refi and roll strategy. And, it looks like Jacob's going to be able to pull out the majority of his money that he puts down. I'm assuming that his net operating income is going to go up enough to cover the additional debt, but he's going to get a 30-year amortization. He's probably going to get 3 years of IO from this deal. So his mortgage payment is probably going to stay the same, and it probably might tick down a little bit because of that extra 10-year AM. So this is an ideal property to refi and roll. He identified the value adds on this. He's got a strategy in place, and he's gonna work the strategy, and it's exciting. Are you looking at other deals right now? Are you looking to expand right now? Or are you just focusing on this property?
Right now, we're just focusing on this one, and I'm building we're building a 12,000 square foot office building. So that's kind of taken a lot of our time. But once we get that completed, which should be hopefully by the middle of next year, we definitely are going to be searching for more deals. And if another great deal came down the pipe, I would try to work something out. But we're not actively searching for anything right at this moment.
So
But definitely
the
we'll see.
apartment in 12,000 square foot building, is that going to house your insurance company?
Yes, yeah, it is. We have a building now that we own that's just not quite large enough. Thankfully, we have been able to have a lot of growth. And so we found a piece of property that we're building on. I didn't want to build. I'd rather purchase already built, but there's just nothing that fits our needs. So we're having to go through that process.
Josh, multifaceted, multifamily. He's going to be paying himself the mortgage, and he's going to have a couple of tenants that help him pay the mortgage. It's an awesome strategy, everybody. Love it.
And our cash flow, the way I've got it figured, should cover the note on both properties.
Which is awesome, dude. Great. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's huge. All right, Jacob, I got a few short answer questions for you here. So what's your best advice for anyone trying to buy their first multifamily property?
Well, the first thing that I would do is get plugged into a live event, which sounds almost like a commercial, but I don't have any incentive to say that. So that really turned it for me when I was able to go to a live event, meet people that are doing it. And then I came home and told my wife, I said, honey, these people are doing it. They're no better off than they're better than we are, so we need to look at this more seriously. But I think going to that live event really flipped the switch for me.
And I
Talking
can
about Multifamily Mastery Live, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
and I can piggyback off of that because Jacob's brother Abraham went to the 2017 first event, and I think he brought his father and everyone, and I think they were a little skeptical, but then Abraham took his deal down, and then I think the next year he probably told Jacob, "You've got to come," and I don't think Jacob would have come without his brother. Am I correct on that one?
I probably would not have, but yeah, he dragged me in, and I'm glad he did.
Good little brother, Josh. You know what I'm saying? Good little brother.
Yeah.
Love it. Jacob, what about your favorite book you've ever read and why?
The Make Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I know that's one a lot of people mention. It's helped me out through insurance, through my career. That's been a book that I really like. The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, another great book. The one most recently that I've been reading was The Atomic Habit by James Clear. Powerful book that really helps us look at what we do daily without even realizing it, or everything we do is a habit. And that has really been an awesome book.
Love it. How to Win Friends and Influence People is an annual read for me. It's definitely one of the most impactful books I've read. What about your best habit for success?
My best habit for success.
Listen to your little brother.
That helps. My best habit, and I don't know that you'd call this a habit, but is just being conscious of what I'm doing with my time. Even when I'm at the office, it's amazing how time just gets away from me. And my best habit is, okay, what do I need to do right now? The book, I can't think of it now. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
Doing the things that are that need to be done but aren't urgent, so they don't become urgent later. Just kind of keeping a list of, okay, these things I've got to do today. If I don't, I'm going to really have to do them tomorrow, and then it's going to be an urgent priority. So just keeping a priority list and just taking care of things without letting time get by, because we're all busy. Time gets away from us, and just kind of staying focused on task and not letting the distractions of the day kind of get in your way has been a big help to me.
Awesome. Gino, this was a really powerful show, and there was a lot of golden nuggets in this one. Would you want to give the listeners kind of a recap of some of the takeaways from today?
There are a lot of things that we could mention. I think the first thing is just focus on and be clear on what you want with your life, with your business. I don't think Jacob wants to leave his insurance company right away. That might be an option. Don't have limiting beliefs. Don't think that just because everyone else is doing residential and buying one house at a time, that's good for you. Plug yourself into a community or into an environment where others are doing what you want to do, and see what they're doing. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to go out and network, because real estate is a networking task. The fact that Jacob had a community banker lined up for his 57 unit, the fact that he had a broker that he leveraged to help him take this deal down, those things don't happen by accident. There's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of groundwork that Jacob had to lay down. And also, learning how to take the property over and learning how to manage right. Those are things that Jacob learned. So there's a lot of work that goes in on the front end. I think also thinking about having a big payday as opposed to delaying the instant gratification and working on it and trying to create a business out of multifamily is going to make Jacob super successful. And I guess 2 years from now, he's going to have his 12,000 square foot building. He's going to have this 57 units, and the 12,000 square foot building is another cost segregation. So he's going to be wiping off taxes on that. So you can see into the near future, Jacob's probably going to have a small tax liability. So it's not what you make, everybody, it's what you keep, which is amazing. So we can dive into that for another story. But I think ultimately, know your why, be clear on what your strategy is, be conscious with your time, get off of Facebook, get off of Instagram, and reclaim your time and really strategize and really think of multifamily as a business and all the different layers. We didn't even talk about the $6,000 cable. Jacob just poo-pooed that. $6,000 for a lot of people is a lot of money. So, I mean, just for signing a contract that tenants already need, signing a laundry contract, making another $1,000 a month on laundry, you can see the additional revenue streams that multifamily can provide for you and for your family. So I commend Jacob for not having the limiting beliefs and saying, you know what, if he's doing it, I can do it. If Jake and Gino are doing it, I can do it. But there's a lot of steps that you need to take. Go back and listen to the podcast and listen to his story really clearly on why he became successful.
Wow.
Exactly. Thanks for summarizing that so well.
Yeah, powerful wrap up there. Well, guys, I want to thank Jacob for being an amazing guest on the show and sharing his movers and shakers story. If you want to be the next movers and shakers guest, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. Now, if you like the show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a movers and shakers week. See you guys then.
Thanks, Jacob. Bye, Josh.
Thanks a lot, guys.